Hello, Coachella Valley, and welcome to your small business headquarters. I'm your host, Katie Stice, CEO at the Rancho Mirage Chamber of Commerce, and today we're going to be talking with the County Supervisor's Office all about the vaccine. If you have questions, please stay tuned. You can also list them in the comments. We'll do what we can to answer them, but for now, let's bring in our guest today. Just pop him right in here. Please welcome Greg Rodriguez, Government Relations and Public Policy Advisor, 4th District Supervisor V. Manuel Perez, County of Riverside. That was a mouthful, but welcome, Greg. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Katie, for having me. Yeah, that's my resume title. So,
well, I'm very lucky that I get to work with you weekly, sometimes multiple times a week, and we have through this entire crisis. And you've just done incredible work at every turn, and we're just so grateful for that. How are you doing, by the way, before we get into the vaccine? How are you handling everything?
I'm doing good. We kind of feel like we're just stuck in a mouse wheel. You just keep spinning and spinning. What's nice is there's a little more certainty now than there was back in March, April, May, June. Obviously our numbers are up, so that's a little concerning, and hospital utilization and all that. But personally, I'm doing great. I actually just got a negative test result back this morning, so that was nice to hear. And I test frequently, and not that I'm out and about a lot, but just wanted to keep those testing numbers up. But you never know who in my house who's been where, and
that's
at work.
Right.
So, but no, things are great. So.
Good. Glad to hear it. And let's just jump right into this vaccine. It is the one really glimmer of hope we've really felt lately that with this vaccine, our community has a chance to really start to come back to some normalcy. And so fill us in a little bit about, that tier system, that distribution plan, and who you're partnering with.
All right, great. Thanks, Katie. And, it's like you say, this is kind of the light at the end of the tunnel. It's still a faint light, but at least there's a light there. And, like I said, too, especially as our numbers have risen over the last month, primarily the holidays, gives us a glimmer of hope. So how it's being done, as most people know, there's two vaccines. One is the Pfizer vaccine and then the Moderna vaccine. Both of the vaccines require 2 doses. The Pfizer one, you need to wait basically 21 days between doses, and then the Moderna one is 28 days. Mm-hmm. When you get those vaccines, whether it's the Pfizer or Moderna, that'll all be spelled out for you once you receive the first vaccine, and you'll get an automatic alert to actually go for the second appointment, either the 21 or 28 days. Okay. How the distribution is structured. And it's like I was telling you earlier, it changes daily, but we have a pretty good sense in working with the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, as well as the California Department of Public Health, and then our public health director through RUHS, Kim Saratari, and she actually sits on the state's vaccine commission. So that's a very good thing for Riverside County. But basically what they've done is they've developed right now 3 tiers that we will move through. The first one, which we're in now, which we call 1A, is primarily for those frontline healthcare workers, in-home support specialists, pharmacists, dentists, because we're actually vaccinating them because they're going to be eligible to actually distribute the vaccine as we move into the other phases. So, and all of this is located, and you've got the website at the bottom there at rivcoph.org. There's a little link to the right that has vaccine information, and all of this is listed on that site as well as frequently asked questions. What we'll do, we're anticipating to be complete with phase 1A, hopefully by the end of this week, if not the middle of next week. And that's for everybody who's wanted it. And I know there was some information out there, some reporting that only like 50% of our healthcare workers were accepting the vaccine. That was a little misleading because some of them were actually not like at work that day. And so they hadn't scheduled, and others were waiting, basically allowing those that were really in the acute care settings to get their vaccines first. But we are on track and vaccinating well. So once we get through that phase 1A, we'll move into phase 1B. And then that's primarily educators, like our food distribution centers. So that'd be like Fine Food Bank or some of our local food pantries, those people over 75. And then we just start going down the list.
Great. And I know we covered just a couple of things before we went live, but I wanted to just talk these out because these are some questions that have come in, from the community, or like you said, with the 50% things we've heard.
Yeah.
Are these free for everyone?
Yes, there is no charge for the vaccine. You may be asked for your insurance information.
Okay.
That's so we can bill insurance and recover some of the costs. But all of the costs of the vaccination program, both the actual vaccine and the distribution and logistics, are all covered by the federal government.
Okay. And then is this a clinical trial?
No, and that's a great question, Katie. So as most people are aware, that what both Pfizer and Moderna, as well as Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca are still in their trials, have already been through exhaustive clinical trials. So this is just like getting a flu vaccine or, measles, or et cetera. So all of those trials have been done. And it's actually pretty impressive how fast this has gotten out on the market. And a lot of that is due to technology. Over the last 10 years, our medical system and with the help of the federal government, both administrations actually have done an amazing job of, getting science up to par so that we can roll this out quickly. Right.
And tell me a little bit about the Indio location at the fairgrounds was a testing site. Is that going to become both a testing and a vaccine site? Tell us a little bit about how that's going to work.
Yes.
Or how it's working.
Yeah. And so they started vaccinations there yesterday and then continued today. Actually, the supervisor's out there right now visiting the vaccine center, not getting his because he's not in line yet.
Okay.
But yeah, so it'll remain both a testing and a vaccination site. So, there's Dodger Stadium, they're closing their testing site and actually just doing pure vaccinations. But so what we'll do in this first phase, and obviously, it's an appointment only. And again, right now, it's only for those that are eligible in phase 1A. As we move through, and especially as we open it more to the public, all of our testing locations will become vaccination locations as well.
Okay.
And then we will also be doing some community vaccinations. So say, for instance, a community the size of Sun City in Palm Desert. We're looking at how we can get out there, utilize their clubhouse. Was just on a phone call today with Skip and maybe possibly utilizing Golden Voice and just the logistical expertise they have and possibly doing it down there. That's not a guarantee, but we're going to work with public health to see. Because again, as you can imagine, we expect the demand to be very high. I hope it is high. I encourage everybody to get vaccinated, but we want to make sure we're getting through that pool of people as fast as we can.
That's right. And on that same note, is there enough for everyone?
Yeah, so not yet. And this is kind of the limiting thing we have right now is the county right now so far has been allocated about 25,000 doses. We've actually vaccinated 17,000. So percentage-wise, we're doing quite well in Riverside County.
Great.
It's the supply chain kind of limitation. From what we understand, what we heard last week is even the federal government kind of held half of it back. It sounds like they're going to be releasing the rest of that. We know that I just heard a report this morning on NPR that both manufacturers, Pfizer and Moderna, are ramping up production and will be distributing. So we do anticipate, Katie, having that supply chain kind of loosen up in the next few weeks, especially as we start getting into those other phases. Right now, we're okay as far as our tier 1A.
Okay, sounds good. And I know you and I were talking just before we went live and how I watched, and for those of you who are looking for more information, and everyone should, frankly, please go to the website. You'll see some great graphics on there. And what I love about it is they're keeping it up to date with checking off each tier and each group. And for a while, it felt like it was just kind of stuck on this one. And then I just looked at it now and like you said, that it's almost complete. And that really is great news. So really great work on your end. Are you going to be working with, Walgreens and CVS locations, things like that, when maybe we get down to the general public, or when can we see that happen?
Yeah, so we actually, and I'm not sure which one we're partnering with. It's either Walgreens or CVS, but we're actually utilizing them now to do the vaccinations in our long-term care facilities and skilled nursing facilities. We do anticipate utilizing those actually whatever pharmacy, whether it's Rite Aid or whatever, as we roll those out. Primarily, initially, like I said, it'll be through the testing sites, through our federally qualified health clinics. So the county has 2 of those in the valley here, both Palm Springs and Indio. And then we'll also partner with Borrego Health, who has numerous clinics, Clinicas de Salud, as well as Desert AIDS Project. To really, and that'll primarily be for the patient setting. Again, we're looking at other community type vaccination centers to get it out on a more widespread basis as well.
Okay, and let's talk a little bit about behavior after vaccine. What should people expect to do differently or not differently after they receive, both the vaccine, and then the second one is a booster? Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So it depends on what they're doing now.
Okay.
If you're washing your hands, covering your face, and maintaining social distancing, you need to keep that up until we're able to get an absolute herd immunity through the vaccine. It's still critical that we make sure that we are following those 3 steps. So because especially like in the interim between the first and second dose of the vaccine, you could still become infected and actually transmit the disease. Again, you may be asymptomatic, just like today without the vaccine. So it's also too, it's just, I think, common courtesy to the rest of the public as well. I think it also still sets an example for everyone within the community that, obviously, if I'm vaccinated and I feel I don't have to wear a mask and social distance, that could be telling somebody that's not vaccinated to do the same behavior.
Got it. And ultimately, and I don't know if you have the answer to this or not, but ultimately, is there a time frame you're thinking that everyone who wants to have access to this will have had access to it at any level?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
And again, that comes down to the supply chain issue. So, we'll have a better idea of, Katie, even a week ago, I wouldn't have told you that we'd be done with phase 1A as much as we could be by the end of this week or middle of next week. So as we move through and we know more about our supply, we know how our distribution and actual vaccination is going, we'll be able to have a better idea on that. I would encourage people to keep an eye on that rivcoph.org website, though, because as we're going to be tracking that data, and so people will be able to see that as well.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm just also going to put your email up here on the screens. Very nice of you to give that out, and encourage everyone who's out there watching. I've had so many questions last week, all weekend, a lot of information, misinformation out there as well. This website is being kept up to date regularly, rivcoph.org/coronavirus, or you can email Greg directly. And Greg, thank you so much for coming on and filling us in. Promise to come back as things maybe start changing to keep everyone up to speed. But we just appreciate all of the support and information, making yourself available to come on and chat about it.
My pleasure, Katie. And thanks for everything you're doing, too. You've really been a great champion of getting the information out, and I really appreciate that. All of our chambers and business organizations have been fantastic. I'm just going to leave with, I encourage, as soon as you're eligible, for those of you listening and watching and know people that will be eligible within those tiers, to please get vaccinated. It is critical in order, especially for our valley, to get back on track economically.
Very much so. Well, thank you again, my friend. We'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Right.
Be well.
Katie.
And thank you so much for joining us today, just to learn a little bit more about what's happening. I know everyone's interested. Again, if you go onto that website, and I can pop it back up here right quick, you will start to see the changes and the check marks moving through as the vaccine comes through Riverside County. And it's even interesting to look at the state level, what is happening as well. If there's a way that I can help support you or your business just going through this time, please don't hesitate to reach out. That's why your Chamber of Commerce is here. We are working diligently to be your small business headquarters and just a resource throughout this entire time. Thanks so much for tuning in. Everyone, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.